Welcome everyone, Dylan Gemelli here today with a brand new video for you. So today we're going to talk about the dangers of steroid use in teenagers as well as just younger adults in general. But before we get into what you do with this information is completely and utterly up to you, and I am not advising nor condoning you to use any of the things that we discuss in any way, shape, or form. So, let me start off by saying this. Anybody that is advising a teenager to use steroids literally disgusts me. You are lacking any sort of brain cell in your body. You clearly could care less about anything or anybody whatsoever. And it is the most despicable, ridiculous, absurd thing that you could do. Absolutely, utterly disgusting. And I don't care who doesn't like that statement or what. It is just absurd. Okay? I really, and if you follow me, you know that I really go out of my way to try to prevent this from happening. I don't like anybody in their early 20s using steroids either, and I won't advise it. I literally won't. I'm not your guy. I'm not trying to be a jerk. Some people get mad at me. I'm trying to protect you, and look, I'm not your dad. I don't tell you what you can and cannot do, but I'm also, just like you make the choice to do it, I make the choice to not advise it. I don't even like guys that are 25 using steroids. I don't think that's even close to a good age either. I think closer to 30 is, that's my opinion. That's, you know, like I said, I'm not your dad. You do whatever you want. I'm not telling you otherwise. I'm not this dictator man telling you what you can and cannot do, but I'm also telling you I'm not contributing to it. So I want to really focus here on these dangers, why it's a concern, because I get this, well, Arnold did it. I don't care what he did. You are not Arnold. I don't care. It makes no difference. And do you honestly think that anybody that used steroids at a young age that is in the spotlight, etc., jumps up on a pedestal and goes, hey, guess what? I used these and I had all these problems. I still have all these problems. Not likely. You might get a couple guys that are really good-hearted and want to help, but these people, they're not going to do that. They're not going to go through every little thing that they did. And yeah, your blood work might come out good right now. We're talking about down the road the problems that you can incur. All right? That's what people don't understand and don't listen to think they know everything about this. Look, most commonly begins more so in young adulthood rather than adolescence, but steroid use in teens is a major concern, especially since the hormonal systems that they actually interact with play a critical role in brain development during these years. Okay? In adolescent rodents, for example, exposure to anabolic steroids actually increased neuronal spine densities, okay, which in brain regions involved in learning and emotion, so aggression, for example. Now, 4 weeks after withdrawal from, steroid use, these increases in neuronal spine densities return to normal in the learning aspect of the brain, but not in the emotion parts of the brain. So this actually suggests that pubertal steroid exposure could produce long-lasting structural changes in certain brain regions. All right? Males that begin using anabolic steroids during the teen years, they actually show increased impulsiveness, impulsive decision-making, things of that nature, and decreased attention compared to men who began using steroids, in their adult years. In adolescent rats, anabolic steroid exposure is associated with electrolyte imbalance, which is, that alone is so dangerous it can kill you. All right? And that's not even it. Hyperactivity, anxiety, increased sympathetic autonomic modulation also occurred, which is like your fight or flight response during adulthood, even when steroid use was discontinued during adolescence. Now, in addition, adolescent male hamsters that were given anabolic steroids show increased aggression even after the steroid use was discontinued. All right? These aggressive effects are paralleled by changes in levels of serotonin and androgen receptors in the rodent brain. Now, I realize that a lot of these studies are done on rodents and things of that nature, but these are the same things that I see that occur, in real life situations. Look, I get so many people that come to me that are like 40, 50 years old, and they tell me, man, you know, I messed up. Can you please help me? You know, and I'm like, yeah, there's nothing, we can't turn back the clock. There's nothing we can do now. But it's all related to using steroids at a young age, and the problems, the lists go up and down and up and down. I mean, it's bad. And I feel, you know, very sympathetic because a lot of these guys just didn't know any better. They were given bad information, things of that nature, or made really poor decisions. Let's just go over some common side effects of steroids for everybody. Acne, premature balding or hair loss, weight gain, mood swings, aggression. We've got problems sleeping, higher blood pressure, greater chance of injuring muscles and tendons, or higher probability of injury, jaundice, yellowing of the skin, increased risk of developing heart disease, blood clots, strokes, some types of cancer. Let's talk about just some risks for girls. You know, younger ones especially. Increased facial and body hair growth. That alone, not good. Development of masculine traits, deepening of the voice, and loss of, you know, feminine characteristics, such as shrinking of the breasts. Menstrual cycle changes. How about for guys? Testicular shrinkage, pain when urinating is another one. Breast development, impotence is possible, reduced count, infertility. These are real serious things. Then, like I talked about, psychological effects. Some users can become really aggressive, really combative. They start to believe things that aren't true. They're delusional. They start to have paranoia, mistrust, things of that nature. And people that use steroids also appear to be at higher risk for use of other drugs, things like alcohol, cocaine. The list goes on. And trust me when I tell you, things like cocaine and alcohol and steroids do not mix. Painkillers do not mix. That will end your life sooner, I assure you. All right? Here's a little bit of statistic that I have for you. According to some teenage drug abuse statistics that I went over and saw that are more recent, there's not a ton of teens abusing steroids, but there's a lot. The surveys that I saw, that close to 5% of male high school students have abused steroids, while about only 2.5% of women or females. But that amounts to 500,000 young people. That's just through surveys. Okay? So imagine how many more there are than that. We're talking probably millions and millions of young adolescent kids, because they're still kids, abusing steroids or misusing steroids, setting themselves up for long-term problems that all could easily be avoided. There's no need for any of this when you're in your development stages, that you do all this naturally. I understand the pressures of, oh, well, I want to be the best at this and the best at that. Is it worth it to ruin your life? Is it? I don't see that. I don't find that worth it. Everybody's different. Everybody's got their own mindset, and that's fine. Like I've said a million times, I'm not your dad. So it is what it is. That's my rant on this one. Sorry, it kind of turned into some ranting as well, but that's the passion that I feel about it. So